And away we go, episode 1303 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026. It is the day on which the Washington Commanders are revealing new uniforms. The reveal is happening at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. The team on March 26th on X put out a video announcing that the team on April 15th will be announcing, quote, new uniforms, end quote. The team this past Monday at 12 p.m. on X put out a post saying that the reveal of the new uniforms will be on Wednesday morning at 10, and the post included a graphic with the following phrase, quote, behold the burgundy and gold, end quote. The widespread expectation, of course, is that the new uniforms will at least be similar to the very popular Super Bowl-era alternate uniform of this past season, but presumably there will be differences. Otherwise, why hype up a reveal of, quote, new uniforms, end quote? Also, what about the helmet? What is the helmet gonna be like? What will the logo on the helmet for the new uniforms be? The Black W? Some kind of imagery involving a spear? Could it be? Might it be? That the Redskins logo of the proud Native American warrior, the logo based on Chief John Two Guns Whitecalf, is coming back. Is the logo coming back? I'm not holding my breath on that, but who knows? What we do know is that there is no saga in the history of Washington, D.C. area sports quite like the saga of the brand of the NFL team of D.C. And so this reveal of new uniforms on Wednesday at 10 a.m. is a big deal. How are we feeling? Are we confident? Are we excited? Are we perhaps scared? Maybe we're all of these things. That's okay if we are all of these things. Do you remember when Jesse Spano on the all-time great television show Saved by the Bell got hooked on caffeine pills? This was a very special episode of Saved by the Bell. Well, Jesse was both excited and scared. Here you go.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Yeah, I'm so excited, and yet I'm so scared. If you're feeling that way about this reveal of new uniforms on Wednesday at 10 a.m., that's okay. We are here for each other on this podcast. Hello and welcome to this Wednesday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. A new episode is out each weekday morning, Monday through Friday by 5 a.m. and often much earlier than that. Next segment, a terrific guest, Sam Monson, co-host of Check the Mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, which has nearly 79,000 subscribers on YouTube. Sam is an excellent NFL analyst. He worked at Pro Football Focus for years, and we, with Sam, will conduct a deep dive on what the Washington Commanders should do with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the first round for which is a mere 8 days away, Thursday night, April 23rd in Pittsburgh. Sam will address why he, in his mock first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, has Washington taking Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love at 7, who Sam has as the WR1 in the draft, why Sam has LSU's Mansour Delane as the CB1 in the draft, the trickiness of who the top edge defender in the draft is, how willing Washington should be to trade down from 7, whether we should feel as good about Washington quarterback Jaden Daniels now as we did a year ago at this time, and the sale and demise of Pro Football Focus. Lots of good stuff with Sam Monson next segment. By the way, Tuesday night was the night of the Washington Commanders' 3rd annual Top Golf extravaganza for NFL draft prospects as part of Top 30 visits. We on Tuesday night had multiple reports of this. NFL insider Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, he on Tuesday night in a post on X said this, quote, the Commanders held their big pre-draft Top 30 visit tonight as some of the NFL's future stars descended upon Top Golf. Among the more than 20 names, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, David Bailey, Jeremiah Love, Mansour Delane, and Reuben Bain Jr., end quote. And also on the show, we'll talk Washington Capitals as their 2025-2026 season is over.
And it's forced back in by Columbus with 5 seconds left, and a puck cleared away back to center, and that's going to do it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Columbus. The Capitals head to the offseason on a winning note. The game-winning goal from Jacob Chychrun. Final score, Washington 2 and Columbus 1. And is this the last that we will see Alex Ovechkin? in a Washington uniform. He high-fives with his teammates after he would do it at any other game. He waves, he claps to the fans, and he heads down the tunnel, perhaps for the final time.
John Walton on the Washington Capitals radio network. The Caps have concluded going 43-30-9 in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. A 2-1 win at the Columbus Blue Jackets on Tuesday night. And yes, looming over everything with the Caps right now is the future of the grade 8 winger Alex Ovechkin. And on the show, we'll discuss the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. Each team had a one-run game on Tuesday evening. The Nats, a 5-4 win at the Pittsburgh Pirates. The O's, a 4-3 loss to the Arizona Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Steven on the Washington Wizards' D'Angelo Russell, who did not play in any of our team's 33 games off being acquired by the Wizards via the Anthony Davis trade this past February 5th, it was 2026 NBA trade deadline day. Russell was listed as not being with the Wizards. He wasn't injured. He just wasn't with the team. Right, Steven? Hi, Galdi. Longtime listener back to the 980 days. Spent my mid-20s listening to you rocking Go-Go Thursdays while heading home from committing deviant acts. Now in my mid-30s, you're the first pod loaded up for my daily commute. I, like you, am a DC Sports plus Orioles fan. Having a podcast that touches on relevant topics of the day for all of my favorite teams almost feels like curated content. Now, to the reason for my email. When recapping Wizards games, you diligently rattled off all of the players who did not play and always took time to mention D'Angelo Russell listed as did not report to the team. I would find myself wondering, what the heck is that guy up to? Well, to my surprise, what popped into my YouTube feed the other day, D'Angelo Russell versus Fat Perez, parentheses, Bob Does Sports, playing a 1-versus-1 golf match for a YouTube channel. Russell has multiple other golf videos posted over the last few months. I watched all 70 minutes of this YouTube video. It was definitely recorded within the last month or so, but there was zero mention of the Wizards or any indication of what his NBA future might hold. Thank you for the email, Steven. And that right there is the current NBA in a nutshell. A guy is acquired by a team via trade. He never plays for the team because he doesn't want to play for the team, and the team, which is tanking, doesn't want him to play. The two sides can't agree on a buyout, and so he just never shows up and is listed as not playing due to not being with the team. And his most notable act during his time with the team is playing golf on YouTube. And this is the best part, basically nobody says anything about this. The media doesn't write about this. The media doesn't ask about this. The team doesn't talk about this. This entire scenario is considered perfectly normal and perfectly acceptable in the current NBA. I, on this podcast, discussed every game played by our tanking Wizards and them going an NBA worst 17-65 in the 2025-2026 regular season. Yes, every game. We did that. And for each game, I would go through who did not play for the Wizards because that was a key part of the tank. And the D'Angelo Russell situation was so absurd and yet so emblematic of the current NBA. Now, I like a lot about the current NBA, but there's no doubt that the league has a big-time problem with the regular season having been devalued so much. By the way, while we're talking Wizards and guys who did not play, so the Wizards on January 15th announced that Cam Whitmore was done for the season due to a diagnosed venous condition. He had right shoulder deep vein thrombosis. The Wizards on Monday morning and Monday afternoon held season-ending press conferences for head coach Brian Keefe and players off the regular season having ended on Sunday. During the Cam Whitmore season-ending presser, had this exchange between Wizards insider Chase Hughes of Monumental Sports Network and Whitmore.
Hi, Cam. How does what you went through, how has that affected your appreciation for basketball?
Basketball can just be taken from you from any time, any moment that I've realized. And, also for a health standpoint that, that was a life-threatening, type of not disease, but I mean, like, illness I had. But I'm just grateful, just to be alive, to be honest, and be alive, talk to my family and talk to you guys and talk to my, be around my teammates. So just me being back on the floor is definitely a relief, and I'm trying to, actually make a big jump or big push this upcoming season.
So how about that from Cam Whitmore? He referred to his condition as, quote, life-threatening, end quote. Did also say that he now is fine, but all the best to Cam Whitmore. And speaking of life-threatening, look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel, but it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVanish.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com. Hey, if you are listening to this podcast via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can rate the podcast with a star rating. 5-star ratings are greatly appreciated. They help us out a lot. Thank you for doing them. The hype for the Washington Commanders to take Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft continues. Here were host Mike Greenberg and ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter on ESPN's Get Up on Tuesday morning.
How high should we be expecting to hear his name? Listen, it's hard to imagine he's not going to be a top pick here. Maybe he goes 4 to Tennessee, 5 to the Giants. Feels like the floor is number 7 in the Washington Commanders. But everybody's been wondering all along where he goes. I do think Tennessee is in play. I do think the Giants could be in play, though I think they ultimately decide to go defense. Washington makes the most sense. Washington is sitting there waiting to see whether one of these other teams makes the plunge on a running back. If they don't, Washington's been looking to upgrade its backfield for quite some time. To have a player like Love on the board potentially at number 7 would be a lottery. So
there you go, Adam Schefter again pumping up Washington as the team to take Jeremiah Love. As you may recall, Schefter on the Pat McAfee show on March 23rd said that Washington made sense as the team to take Love. And we now welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast someone else who is high on Washington taking Love. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the show Sam Monson, co-host of Check the Mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, which has nearly 79,000 subscribers on YouTube. As Sam and Steve work for Pro Football Focus for years. You can follow Sam on X at Sam Monson NFL, and Monson is spelled Monson. Hey, Sam, how are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to talk to you. You and Steve on your podcast the last two Monday mornings have done mock first rounds for the 2026 NFL Draft, and you both have had Washington taking Jeremiah Love at 7. Two analytics guys each, with the Commanders committing the mortal sin of taking a running back with a top 10 pick. Take us through your thought process, if you would.
Yeah, we've talked it out a lot. Number one, I think you've got this overarching existential, debate that you just mentioned, analytics people, how high can you draft a running back? And, I think at the most extreme that debate went to was like, never draft a running back in the first round, never do it. And then it became, okay, look, every now and again, there's a running back who's a special prospect, a Bijan Robinson, an Ashton Genty, Jeremiah Love, and Adrian Peterson. Obviously, those guys are going to get drafted in the first round. So now it becomes, well, how high in the first round can you justify drafting them? And I think, we were never as extreme as some analytics people, but I think each of us, me and Steve, have come around on that a bit over the years and become more and more amenable to drafting these guys higher and higher with some justification. To me, I think of it like a flow chart, right? So those business flow charts of answer this question, yes or no, head out in one direction or the other. The first question is, do I have the offensive line in situ so that this running back can come in and immediately be good, or does he need to overcome a bad offensive line to even be successful? If I have the offensive line or the running block environment, and this is where it gets a bit complicated for teams like Washington and other teams that have a running quarterback, because I think that sort of takes care of some blocking without necessarily having like an elite top 5 offensive line. But if the answer to that question is no, then you're not drafting the running back. To go somewhere else. Don't even think about the next parts of the flow chart. Don't do it. And if the answer to that is yes, well, then I think you can start to say, well, okay, what are we leaving on the table? What's the opportunity cost? How high are we? Because if we're number 2 overall, we're already making this guy like the best paid running back in the NFL, these types of things. Washington, I think this year is probably the first team where, to me, the answer to the first question is yes. Do I have the environment there that Jeremiah Love can step onto the field and immediately look like a difference-making running back? I think Washington has that environment. They're the first team that I think can confidently answer yes to that question. I don't think the Giants necessarily can. I don't think the Titans can. And, some other teams I think just aren't necessarily going to be in the Love market. So Washington, I think, is the first team where it becomes a really strong debate that they could take him, justify it, depending on who's been drafted already, be confident that you're not leaving an absolute blue chip stud on the field. And then if he gets past Washington, then I think you get interesting, because obviously the Saints, the Chiefs, they made running back moves in free agency, big commitments, and they're probably not drafting him. Now you get to like, well, really, where does he go? But I think Washington is the first really logical landing spot for him.
The only way that I would want Washington taking Jeremiah Love at 7 would be if he is the best player on the team's big board at 7. You use the phrase, quote, blue chip stud, end quote. Is that how you view Love? A truly special back on whom spending a top 10 pick can be justified?
Yeah, to me, blue chip is a difficult term in drafts because usually they correspond with valuable positions as well. I think the only two true blue chip players in this draft are Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs. So they're two non-premium positions, running back and safety, but they're the only two guys I think that have completely clean, no red flag whatsoever, no concern, no question mark. They're just start to finish an elite caliber prospect. Their problem is this. The question for each one of them is the same, which is how high can you draft this position?
Who do you most like at receiver in this draft?
I think Carnell Tate is wide receiver 1 in this draft class. Again, he's the one that doesn't really have a flaw. Maybe he's limited in terms of, he's no Jamar Chase. He wouldn't be wide receiver 1 in a lot of draft classes. But I think in this one, he's pretty comfortably the top guy. He doesn't really have a negative to his profile. He's big enough. He's fast enough. He's good against press coverage. He can win at all levels of the field. He's got great hands. He's got great ball skills. He's a great route runner. There's no real weakness to his game. The only question mark is, can he be that true superstar number 1? Can he be the alpha within a receiving core? But in Washington in particular, it might not be a long-term thing, but you've got Terry McLaurin. Like, he doesn't need to be the one alpha anchoring the entire thing by himself. He could be a perfect complement. And at that level, you can get him into, a Devontae Smith kind of world of production, a T. Higgins kind of world of production, where those guys are really, really productive number 2 receivers in an offense.
You have Mansour Delane as the CB1 in the draft. I don't think that enough attention has been given to the possibility of Washington taking Delane at 7. Would he be worthy of that number 7 overall pick?
Yeah, look, I think he's an extremely good prospect. Again, if he's what's keeping him away from being a blue chip prospect in my eyes, 2 things. Number 1 would be we've only seen 1 year of truly elite level tape. Last year at LSU, his previous tape at a different spot was just okay. It was fine. It was solid. But if he had 4 years of that, you wouldn't be saying this guy's a top 10 draft pick. Last year, he looked like a truly elite, genuinely shut down player on the outside. I would love to have seen another year of that to be truly super confident in him. And then the other thing is he's got, I think, 8th percentile arm length or something like that. Very short arms for the position. And look, that matters, more or less by position. It's not always short arms is terrible thing. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it is in outlier territory. I'm confident that he's already shown the reasons why I don't really care about that. I think his ability to mirror receivers off the line. I don't need him to aggressively jam a guy at the line of scrimmage. He's really good at press coverage by just letting a receiver commit to his moves and going with him. So I don't really care that his arms are short, but there are teams that would. And, that's a reason that he's not necessarily a completely clean across the board blue chip prospect. But yes, I would have no problem whatsoever with Washington drafting him at 7 and saying, this guy's the best corner in this draft. He's an upgrade at a position of need. Let's go.
I think that cornerback is so interesting because on the one hand, cornerback is considered a premium position, but on the other hand, cornerback, as shown by Pro Football Focus, is a position at which there is extreme volatility. Most cornerbacks' performances fluctuate wildly from season to season, and so it's tricky. Should an NFL team spend significant draft capital / salary cap space at corner? How do you view this issue of cornerback? A premium position, but also an unreliable position?
So we tend to, you're right, there's almost like a third pillar of draft evaluation that doesn't tend to get talked about that much. There's the position value aspect of it. These positions are worth more. We can debate how much more, and quantifying that is its own thing. And 32 different teams are going to quantify position value in 32 different ways. But that's generally one area we look at, position value. And then the other thing is versus just how good a prospect is this guy, right? And then the third element I think that we don't focus on enough is what is our degree of certainty about the second pillar, right? It's how good is he? And then how confident are we in that evaluation? Because I think some players, the level of confidence you have with how good that player is through the roof. Like if you look at the track record the NFL has at drafting running backs really high, they're almost all really, really good players. Like the only guy in the last decade or so that wasn't an absolute unquestioned hit is Leonard Fournette. And even him, right behind him came Christian McCaffrey. Like you probably have to go back to Trent Richardson for the last one of those guys seen as like a genuinely stud superstar running back to have not been a good player at all, right? That's an incredibly high strike rate relative to any other position in the NFL. And then when you get to players like, Quentin Nelson, these guards, when you finally get to a guard where you're like, this guy's a stud, he's going to be a superstar. It's just that he's a guard. How high can we draft those guys? Again, invariably, they're good players, right? Maybe they don't become Quentin Nelson every single time, but they're very rarely busts. Whereas you can't necessarily say that about cornerbacks, where even the guys you think are really, really good corners, they can be total disasters. They can be a bust immediately. The level of certainty that you have that the corner you're talking about is as good as you think he is can't possibly be as high as it is for certain other positions. So I think that's the other element that we need to factor into this stuff is, you grade a guy and, you've seen the grades for these sort of teams. Oh, this guy's a 6.2, this guy's a 6.3. You might have 2 guys graded exactly the same. One of them is a guard, one of them is a cornerback. And even if, obviously the position value thing would push the corner higher than the guard, but you might be twice as confident that the guard is going to be that 6.2 player prospect that you think he is, whereas the corner, you can't possibly be as sure. So I do think that there's this third element that maybe that's the reason corners typically don't get drafted as high as you think they should based off position value, is because it's such a hard position still to project. The level of confidence that you have, the volatility is just so high that they're, I think, hard to really commit to and say, we're going to draft this guy at 2 overall or whatever, and really put that highest draft capital into him.
Much more with Sam Monson in moments, but if you have a case, contact Chris Nace, the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers that will fight for you and win for you. Lead attorney Chris Nace is a big Washington Commanders fan and big supporter of this podcast, and his firm wins trials. Just recently, an $8 million jury verdict in Baltimore City Circuit Court. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group is tremendous. It is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group and schedule a no-obligation appointment. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. We're discussing what the Washington Commanders should do with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft as we speak with Sam Monson, co-host of Check the Mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, which has nearly 79,000 subscribers on YouTube. Who's the best edge defender in this draft?
I think I could be convinced in a variety of different ways. They're very different. It's such an interesting draft class where each one of these guys that's even in the conversation is like a totally different prototype of defensive player, let alone just strengths and weaknesses. Ruben Bain, I think I have a very high degree of confidence he's going to be a good NFL player. The question is, what is his ceiling? Like, can he be a superstar? I'm already pretty confident that he's going to be the outlier when it comes to the arm length thing. I'm not massively concerned by that. But I do wonder if the sort of overall composite of his skills, we're just going to end up with being a solid, good player as opposed to a superstar, which is what you're looking for in the top 10, right? David Bailey's burst, I think, is spectacular. I think his speed, his athleticism is really, really good. I don't know if his run defense is ever going to be a plus, is ever going to be above average. And I do wonder a little bit if he's just a little bit more wooden than people are giving him credit for. And if he has really the fluidity and the dynamism to be a true superstar edge rusher. And then Arvell Reese there's just so much projection involved. I think he's already a good linebacker now, but a lot of people are projecting him to being a defensive end, a pass rusher, the way they did with, Micah Parsons, with Jalen Walker. And I think there's legitimacy to that, but it's such a small sample size that you're basing that on that it's hard to project confidently what he's going to be. So it's really a case of like, which is the red flag that you're most scared of? Which is the kind of special trait that you're banking on the most? I would have no problem drafting any of those guys in the top 10. And, if I was the guy pulling the trigger, I think Arvell Reese would be the guy I would hitch my wagon to.
NFL insider Albert Breer of the MMQB, he in a piece that came out on Monday morning had this, quote, count the Cardinals, Titans, Giants, Browns, and Commanders among those already looking at trying to drop down in the order to accumulate capital. The problem for those 5 is finding teams to move up, end quote. My ideal scenario for Washington at 7 is the Commanders trading down for picks to replenish the team's diminished draft capital. I don't know how realistic that is. Is there any player who you could realistically see being available to Washington at 7 who the team should opt to pick instead of trading down? Or is the right move for Washington to trade down, if it can trade down, regardless of who's available at 7?
Yeah, I think analytically trading down is usually a smart move, right? I think if you can get a trade down, it's almost always the correct way to go. The exceptions to that rule are a few things. Number one, if a quarterback is what you're talking about, because they break the math on everything. So if you need a quarterback, don't trade down, just take the guy. The other time I think you can start to ignore it is if you're talking about a potential genuine blue chip player that you think is great, that you think you have a really high degree of confidence is going to be a superstar. then draft the blue chip guy, don't trade back. Now, the problem with this draft, I think, is, as we just talked about, you could argue that the only two blue chip players in this draft are positions of low value, are Jeremiah Love and Caleb Downs. And then the other three guys that we're talking about, the pass rushers we just mentioned, none of them maybe are blue chip players. I would say certainly all three of them are a tier below the Will Andersons of the world, who obviously was the player that Houston traded up to go get in that draft, right? So at the time, we were saying, look, trading up for Will Anderson is a mistake. Always trade down, never go too confident to get that guy. And I think with hindsight and with sort of rethinking that whole world a bit more, I think both me and Steve now would say, look, if you're confident that this guy is a blue chip player, maybe that's worth doing the trade up for and being aggressive and going to get that guy. And obviously, from a result standpoint, Houston have absolutely won that trade, or at least it was justified. That's not always the way to look at it. You need to think about process as well. But I think you could argue that the process was sound now as well. So if you think that one of those three pass rushers is a blue chip player, like if you don't care about the red flag the way I would be scared of, if you think that Reuben Bain's a blue chip or David Bailey, whatever, then I think you could justify sticking in place. Or if you think the position value doesn't matter enough, that you could just take Jeremiah Love, take Caleb Downs, because the point is they're going to be really good. It doesn't matter that it's at a safety or at a running back position. Those would be the guys that I would stick in place for. If you're not going to draft any of those guys and you're debating Carnell Tate versus trade down, then I would trade down, or offensive lineman and trade down. Then I would be like, look, these guys are not blue chip players. They're not keeping me in this spot. I'm going to take the extra draft picks and I'm going to move back.
Washington QB1 Jaden Daniels, all-time great 2024 rookie season, injury-ravaged 2025 season. Should we feel as good about him now as we did a year ago at this time?
I think in terms of the caliber of player he is, we should still feel as good as we did a year ago. The thing to be scared about is the injury history. And I think you have to be at least a little bit scared about that, because it was a big part of his evaluation coming into the NFL. We were like, this guy's great, but he plays the game like a crash test dummy. And at some point, at his size, that's a scary thing, right? And it's already shown up as a problem potentially. So, this is somebody that has not been particularly good at protecting himself at any level of the game, and now has had this track record of injuries. And we're hoping that he stays healthy for, full seasons going forward. So, it is something you can change. You can, modify behavior. You can get better at that. But I do think it's something that he needs to work at protecting himself at and keep himself on the field. But in terms of, is he still a top level quarterback? That hasn't changed in a year.
I did want to ask you about what happened with Pro Football Focus, but via spinning the topic forward. So a company called Teamworks, it last month bought PFF, but not all of PFF. Teamworks bought the PFF enterprise business, but not the PFF consumer business, which includes PFF.com and PFF podcasts, although PFF fired a bunch of people associated with that stuff. Full disclosure, my brother Andy Galdi works for Teamworks, but we in recent years have seen multiple outlets that had been providing advanced NFL analysis either go away or be severely lessened. Pro Football Focus, Football Outsiders, the 33rd Team. There still is a lot of great content out there, but more and more the content is coming from people independently via, say, Substack, and not from larger outlets. Why is that? And what is the future of advanced NFL analysis?
I think the answer to that is the way that PFF was always segmented into a B2B, a team side of things where they sold data into the NFL teams themselves, college teams, all those kinds of things, and then a consumer-facing side. I think that's still the case where, they're two different things, where the team side of analytics is more robust than it's ever been. The data is off the charts. You're now getting computer vision stuff in, tracking data. Like, they are doing some incredibly sophisticated stuff in terms of evaluation and analytics. And that's, I think, only going in one direction, only getting better and stronger. The standard across the NFL has gotten higher. The floor has gotten higher. The ceiling has gotten higher. Like, some of the stuff that the smartest teams are doing are incredible. And that's, I think, only going in one direction. And, whether it's the PFF enterprise, like the part of the company that got sold to Teamworks, whether it's Teamworks doing it, whether it's going to be other companies coming in, like that, I think is only going to go from strength to strength because it's not getting any less important as time goes. The consumer side of thing, the kind of general public's consumption is getting, I think, more interesting because, sites like PFF or Football Outsiders are potentially going away. And, even if they stay, PFF hadn't basically upgraded that package in a decade plus. It hasn't really evolved. On the other hand, the information, it has never been easier to get. There's so many places out there that are providing so much information. Maybe it's not all in one shop the way it used to be. Here's your site for analytics and you don't need to go anywhere else. But you can get so much information from all of the various sites out there. And as you said, individuals doing stuff on Twitter and things like NFL Pro are actually pretty strong. I think generally the access to information is getting better and better, but the kind of democratization of it has definitely distributed it more like to the winds. And it's very difficult to just go, well, this is my one site now for all the information I need. So in a way, it's never been easier to get information, but in another way, it's never been harder to kind of piece together the conglomerate that you want. It's almost like this is kind of the way the world is right now, right? Like we've never collectively had access to more information than we've had right now, but we've sort of lost the ability, or it's become harder and harder to just filter it out and get rid of the crap and just zoom in on the stuff that you actually want and is useful. It's just an overload of information and some of it is useless.
That's so true. And this is such an odd deal because as the success of your podcast shows, there very much is a demand for this content. And so in theory, outlets like PFF and Football Outsiders should be thriving. But instead, these outlets are withering away. And I suppose that that's due to bad management more than anything. But instead of there being a boom with these outlets, we're seeing them go away.
It is, and that's the interesting thing. My hope would be, because one period of time I was running the consumer part of PFF. I would like to think before it started to head in the wrong direction, but make of that what you will. I would say it's a mistake to view the downfall of PFF, the downfall of some of these other companies, and say the market isn't there for this kind of information, right? There's just not. You're never going to get a good running business based off this. I mean, PFF was doing multiple millions of dollars worth of sales off the interest that is there with, again, a product that hadn't been upgraded for a decade, right? Like, I think the market is absolutely there for a really good analytics product and consumer product and all this kind of stuff. It's just that these companies have tended to be run pretty badly and have overreached themselves and have started spending too much, and then have basically the bubble has burst and they've kind of imploded and have had to set up shop and stop doing this thing. I absolutely think there's a market there for somebody to come in and just create the best, most dominant, most all-encompassing analytics suite out there that would also be applicable, to fantasy football, because that's huge. That would be applicable to betting without having like gambling stamped all over and being like, here's your odds maker, 4,000, just to have it as here's an analytics suite that also helps you gamble, right? Figure it out yourself type of deal. I absolutely think that is still a multi-million-dollar business if you run it correctly.
Great insight. Sam Monson, co-host of Check the Mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, which has nearly 79,000 subscribers on YouTube. Sam, thank you. Continued success.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right. Very nice talking with Sam Monson. If you would like to grow your business or practice, consider advertising on this podcast. Podcast advertising works and is very affordable. Put the power of the pod to work for you. Get your message out there to thousands of successful people in the Washington, D.C. area. Email us to see what we can do for you. The email address is thealgaldipodcast@yahoo.com. The Washington Capitals' 2025-2026 season is over. Is the playing career of the greatest player in Caps history, winger Alex Ovechkin, over? The Caps have concluded going 43-30-9 in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season. A 2-1 win at the Columbus Blue Jackets on Tuesday night. Alex Ovechkin, the great eight, maybe the greatest athlete in Washington, D.C. sports history. This was his age 40 season and the final season of a 5-year, $47.5 billion contract, to which the Caps re-signed him as an unrestricted free agent in July 2021. Airing on Caps pregame live on Monumental Sports Network last Wednesday night was a conversation between the Caps radio play-by-play announcer John Walton and Alex Ovechkin. Ovi said that he plans to take time after the season to reflect and consult with his family before determining his future. He on Tuesday night served as the Caps top-line left wing, had a secondary assist for his 32nd assist in the regular season. Also, he had a game-high 11 total shot attempts, including a game-high tying 4 shots on goal. The assist came on a power play goal by defenseman Jacob Chychrun, 15:53 into the third period for a 2-1 Caps lead, and for his 26th goal in this regular season as the Caps went 1 for 3 on the power play. Caps third-line right wing Tom Wilson had the primary assist for his 32nd assist in this regular season. But consider what Alex Ovechkin just did in his age 40 season. Ovi, for the 2025-2026 regular season, had the following rankings on the Caps. Number 1 in goals, 32. Number 1 in points, 64. Number 3 in hits, 134. And he played in all 82 games. This guy can still play. Who knows if he wants to keep playing, but this guy can still play. Here was Alex Ovechkin's post-game session with reporters on Tuesday night.
Obi, it's been an emotional few days for you. You went on a high note, like the playoffs, all the celebration. What are your emotions right now?
Season is over. Obviously, you don't want to end like that, but it's a learning process for young guys, and you have to play since game 1, because every point is going to be very important till the end of the season. And you can see we sometimes we lost so many points when we have a lead, and but yeah, I think it's on us. And I would say last night was not good scenario for us and for Columbus as well. So
what was it like leaving the ice here today, not knowing what happens next, I guess?
I said, I don't know what's going to happen, and the fans who came here now from DC and from different spots to watch the game, it was very nice. I can hear them cheering for me and scream one more year. So that's important to and it shows lots of respect. So thanks for that support.
What's next for you? Where are you going to go? What's your process going to be like to come to this decision?
Probably right now we're going to have end meetings. Then we are going to stay a little bit in DC, and I don't know when we're going to fly. Probably May. Fly back to back home, and going to talk to Carves, KP, Mac, and obviously with my family, and going from there. All right.
Surprise you how many Caps fans from the in the crowd?
Yeah, that's why I said there was huge support for them. They support us all year, and thank you very much for your support, guys. It's very important for us.
How much do the young guys on this team feature fire for this game?
Yeah, you can see Hart, Solano, Pro Junior, those guys are going to be very good players, and to get that opportunity and to be in that kind of playoff run games, it's going to help them in the future, and for sure they're going to be top players.
If this is your final game, how do you feel to go out with an assist on game-winning goal?
it's pretty cool. We tried to win. We tried to finish a season on a good note, and I hope it's not my last game. I don't know how I said what's going to happen, so we'll see.
All right, we shall see with Alex Ovechkin, but I tend to think that he's not done. I tend to think that he will play for the Caps next season, but again, we'll see. The Caps starting goaltender for this season-ending 2-1 win at the Blue Jackets on Tuesday night was Clay Stevenson. He did well. He stopped 27 of the 28 shots on goal that he faced as the Caps rested their number one goaltender, Logan Thompson, who had a terrific season. The Caps' number two goaltender, Charlie Lindgren, unavailable for a fourth consecutive game. And so here we are, rare territory. This is just the ninth time over the last 43 NHL seasons that the Caps are not making the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Caps were eliminated from contention for the Eastern Conference's second of two wildcard spots via the Ottawa Senators' 3-0 win at the New York Islanders this past Saturday afternoon. And the Caps were officially eliminated from contention for the 2026 Stanley Cup playoffs via the Philadelphia Flyers' 3-2 shootout win over the Carolina Hurricanes on Monday night. The Flyers in that game overcame being down 2-0 at the end of the first period, and that Flyers win eliminated the Caps from finishing in third place in the Metropolitan Division as the top three teams in each division make the Stanley Cup playoffs. So two things that help to keep our Caps from making the Stanley Cup playoffs this season. A, bad special teams, bad on the power play, bad on the penalty kill. B, bad/unlucky in shootouts. So the Caps in the 2025-2026 regular season went just to 2-6 in shootouts. The Flyers, for comparison's sake, went 10-4 in shootouts. But the Caps for the regular season had a goal differential of +19. That should have been good enough to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. So the Caps' 5-on-5 play and the work of Logan Thompson were very much good enough for the Caps to make the postseason. This was an odd season for the Caps. Other injuries/absences for the Caps for this season-ending 2-1 win at the Blue Jackets on Tuesday night. Defenseman Rasmus Sandin did not play for a second consecutive game due to a lower body injury. The Caps' two in-season trade acquisitions, fittingly, did not play. Defenseman Timothy Liljegren was a healthy scratch for a 13th time over the Caps' final 14 games, off the Caps having acquired him via trade on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. The Caps traded a fourth-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the San Jose Sharks for Liljegren. For David Kampf, he was a healthy scratch for a sixth consecutive game, meaning that he did not play for the 17th time in 19 games since the Caps acquired him via trade on 2026 NHL trade deadline day. The Caps traded a sixth-round pick in the 2026 NHL draft to the Vancouver Canucks for Kampf. For all of the good work that has been done by Caps President of Hockey Operations Brian McClellan and Caps Senior Vice President and General Manager Chris Patrick, these trades for Liljegren and Kampf were big-time whiffs. Forward Ethan Frank, he was a healthy scratch for a fourth consecutive game. Defenseman Declan Chisholm, he was a healthy scratch for a 17th consecutive game. But defenseman Dylan McElrath played, this off him having been a healthy scratch for each of the Caps' previous 18 games. And forward Hendrix Lapierre played off having been a healthy scratch for each of the Caps' previous 3 games. Well, the Washington Nationals have notched their first one-run win in MLB's 2026 regular season, in which they now are 8-9, including 1-3 in one-run games. A 5-4 win at the Pittsburgh Pirates on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 4-game series. This was a game for which the start was delayed for 18 minutes due to rain. More good offense by the Nats. 5 runs, 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles and 6 singles, 4 walks, 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position. C.J. Abrams is on fire. Jr., he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 5 batter, went 3 for 4 with a solo homer, a double, and an RBI single. Did make multiple outs on the base paths, but Abrams in the Nats 3-run first had a first pitch RBI single to center field for a 3-0 Nats lead. He got thrown out in an attempted steal of second base on a strike him out, throw him out double play to end that top of the first. But Abrams in the Nats 1-run third had a 2-out solo homer to right field for a 4-1 Nats lead. Abrams in the top of the 8th had a leadoff double to right field, got thrown out at home on pinch hitter Jose Tena's 2-out opposite field single to left field as the Pirates left fielder Jake Mangum made a great throw. Nats manager Blake Butera challenged the play, but the call of out was upheld, as was the call of there being no violation of the home plate collision rule. But C.J. Abrams, for this regular season now, has an OPS of 1,121, an OPS of 1121. That is phenomenal. James Wood, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 0 for 3 with 2 walks and a stolen base. Did strike out 3 times, but Wood in the Nats 3-run first drew a leadoff 4-pitch walk and had a steal at third base. James Wood for this regular season has an OPS of 972. Brady House, he is the Nats starting DH and number 3 batter, went 2 for 4 with a double and an RBI single. House in the Nats 3-run first had an RBI single up the middle on a 1-2 pitch for a 1-0 Nats lead, and House in the top of the 7th had a 2-out opposite field double to right field. Brady House for this regular season has an OPS of 756. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI single. Lyle in the Nats 3-run first had an RBI single to center field on a 1-2 pitch for a 2-0 Nats lead. He did get picked off at second base for the first out. Yeah, that 3-run first for the Nats could have been even better. Dalen Lyle for this regular season has an OPS of 659. And Luis Garcia Jr., he is the Nats starting first baseman and number 2 batter, went 1 for 2 with an RBI single and a walk. Garcia in the Nats 1-run fourth had a 2-out RBI single through the right side of the infield on an 0-2 pitch for a 5-1 Nats lead. Luis Garcia for this regular season has an OPS of 681. But the Nats over 17 games have scored 99 runs. 5.82 runs per game. The Nats for this regular season are number 4 in MLB in team OPS 772. The Nats for this 5-4 win at the Pirates on Tuesday evening used an opener who was relief pitcher P.J. Poulin. He allowed 1 run in 1 inning. In the bottom of the first, gave up a 1-out full count solo homer by University of Maryland product Brandon Lau to right field to cut the Nats lead to 3-1. And then starting pitcher Miles Michaelis came into the game as the Nats bulk pitcher. He did not, though, pitch in bulk. He allowed 3 runs in 3 and a third innings. Michaelis in the bottom of the fourth allowed 2 runs as he issued a leadoff walk of Brandon Lau, followed by issuing a walk of Brian Reynolds, despite having had him down in the count at 1.02, and gave up a 1-out RBI double by Marcell Ozuna to left field on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats lead to 5-2. Michaelis in the bottom of the 5th allowed a run as he gave up a 1-out solo homer by Joey Bart to left field to cut the Nats lead to 5-4. Left fielder Dalen Lyle did have a chance to make a home run robbing catch, but he whiffed in the attempt at a leaping backhanded catch, and that was it. Blake Butera pulled Michaelis from the game. Miles Michaelis is not doing well. He, for this regular season now, 4 games, including 3 starts, ERA of 11.49, whip of 2.17. This is his age 37 season, and the Nats are a team that has restarted a rebuild. Unless the Nats believe that they can fix him and flip him, there's no reason to stick with him in the rotation for long if he's struggling. And 4 Nats relievers beyond the bulk pitcher, Miles Michaelis, in this 5-4 win at the Pirates on Tuesday evening, combined for 4 2/3 scoreless innings. Mitchell Parker was great. The Nats on Tuesday morning announced having recalled Parker from AAA Rochester. He tossed 2 scoreless innings with 5 swinging strikeouts versus no walks. What got into him? Cianel Perez, he officially tossed a scoreless and hitless inning. He came into the game in the bottom of the 7th with the bases loaded, 1 out, and the Nats clinging to a 5-4 lead, and he, to the first batter he faced, induced a 4-3 double play by pinch hitter Nick York for 2 huge outs to end that bottom of the 7th. Clayton Beeter in the bottom of the 8th faced two batters and got two outs, and Gus Varland tossed the scoreless bottom of the ninth for the save, though not without drama. He gave up a one-out first pitch, opposite field double by Connor Griffin off the right field wall. Varland then issued a one-out walk of Joey Bart, despite having had him down in the count at 1.12, but Varland then generated a swinging strikeout of the Pirates' number one batter, O'Neal Cruz, and Varland then induced a game-ending pop-out by Nick York. A very nice win by the Nats. This was Blake Butera during his post-game session with reporters on Tuesday night on the Nats pitching plan for the game, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
Yeah, just with their left-handed hitters, wanted to try to give them some tough looks, at least as tough as we could lay it out. Had PJ set to get us the first one, Miles after him in a bit of a shorter workload, and then Parker obviously behind him, and then our guys at the back end from there.
What does it say about all of those guys who pitched today to maybe pitch in spots that they're only maybe semi-comfortable with or semi-familiar with, and show up as they did?
The bullpen was huge. I mean, you look at, the last 5 innings were scoreless. Just couldn't be happier with every guy come out of the bullpen ready to go when their name was called in whatever inning, whatever situation they were asked upon. High leverage, medium leverage. I don't think there was any low leverage. I mean, they came out of the bullpen ready to roll. Like, there was just a different look in those guys' eyes.
What did you make of the reactions from Perez and Varland once the game was over? Just the reaction to the game, the double play from Perez and also Varland at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think just what I mentioned, it was just a different look in all those guys' eyes coming out of the bullpen tonight. I know they didn't have the start to the season that they had hoped to, and I think there's a bit of a I wouldn't say frustration, but a focus to get back to being who we believe they are, and they definitely showed that tonight.
How do you channel that into focus instead of into frustration?
The biggest thing is our coaching staff, I think, does a great job of making sure these guys understand it's a long season. It's hard to go off with such a small sample size. The biggest thing is controlling what they can control. And at the end of the day, there's going to be some things that don't go our way. But as soon as we get off of being who we are and what our strengths are, that's when we run into problems. And I think the player group as well did a nice job of getting together as a group and talking about, hey, we believe in one another. This is who we are. We're going to go attack. We're going to fix this.
Yeah, Nats pitching had been reeling. Good to see it, for the most part, do well on Tuesday evening. Game 3 for the Nats at the Pirates, Wednesday evening at 6:40. Jake Irvin will be the Nats starting pitcher. The Baltimore Orioles' 3-game winning streak is over. A 4-3 loss to the Arizona Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Tuesday evening in Game 2 of a 3-game series. So the O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 9-8. The O's scored less than 6 runs for the first time in 4 games. Just 3 runs, just 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles. 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. The O's did draw 6 walks, but the O's struggled against Diamondback starting pitcher Merrill Kelly. He allowed 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. We did get a nice game from Samuel Basallo. He is the Orioles starting catcher and number 4 batter. Went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a single, and a walk. Basallo in the Orioles' 1-run second had a leadoff homer to center field for a 1-0 Orioles lead. The homer went a projected 431 feet per Statcast. Basallo for this regular season has an OPS of just 640, but he is tied for number 2 on the O's with 3 home runs. Leody Taveras, he is the Orioles starting center fielder and number 6 batter. Went 1 for 3 with an RBI single and a bases-loaded walk. Taveras for this regular season now has an OPS of 935. But this was a rare off game for the Orioles ace, Trevor Rogers. He in this 4-3 loss to the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Tuesday evening allowed 4 runs in 4 2/3 innings. He gave up 9 hits, which were a home run, 2 doubles, and 6 singles. He issued 2 wild pitches. He did have 6 strikeouts versus 1 walk, but all of this added up to him over his mere 4 2/3 innings, throwing a whopping 99 pitches, 61 strikes versus 38 balls. So Rogers was doing well, but he in the top of the 5th allowed 4 runs, including giving up a 1-out 3-run homer by former Washington Nationals utility man Ildemaro Vargas to left field for a 3-2 Diamondbacks lead. The biggest bright spot for the O's in this 4-3 loss to the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Tuesday evening was the relief pitching. 4 Orioles relievers combined for 4 and a third scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts. How about Rico Garcia? He tossed 1 and a third perfect innings with 2 strikeouts, making it so that he is not allowed a run or a hit over his first 9 appearances in this 2026 regular season, tying the franchise record for most consecutive appearances by a pitcher to begin a regular season without allowing a run or a hit. The record was set by relief pitcher Yunier Cano in April 2023. Rico Garcia has been outstanding. Grant Wolfram, he tossed 1 and a third perfect innings with 3 swinging strikeouts. The aforementioned Yunier Cano, he faced 3 batters and got 3 outs, including 2 strikeouts. And Nick Rickey, in the top of the ninth, faced 4 batters and got 2 outs as he gave up a single and issued a hit by pitch. An update on the Orioles manager, Craig Albernaz. So he had the Orioles dugout during the 9-7 win over the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards on Monday evening with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. Got struck on the right side of the face by a foul ball by Jeremiah Jackson. Albernaz, during his pregame press conference on Tuesday afternoon, revealed that he has a broken jaw and at least 7 fractures in his cheek area, and he can only eat baby food for 6 weeks. But he was in good spirits, so good to see that. Game 3 for the O's against the Diamondbacks at Oriole Park at Camden Yards, Wednesday afternoon at 12:35. Kyle Bradish will be the Orioles starting pitcher. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Thursday's show, episode 1304, will provide you with more on the Washington Commanders' in-depth reaction to their new uniforms being revealed on Wednesday morning at 10. Also on Thursday's show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats are at the Pittsburgh Pirates Wednesday evening at 6:40 for Game 3 of a 4-game series. The O's are home to the Arizona Diamondbacks Wednesday afternoon at 12:35 for Game 3 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.